excited to talk all about transforming dreams into reality. And tonight I'm even more excited to bring you a real adventurer and a life coach who can't wait to speak to you all about her adventures and get you all revved up and looking towards something really exciting when we're all not quarantining anymore. So you definitely have something to look forward to. And one of the 8 elements of happiness by Sean Acor is to actually focus on the future and look toward wonderful activities or events. So I can't wait to see what you guys have in store once everything is lifted and away we go. So welcome, Berta Medina-Garcia. I get to introduce you first, and then as always, with regard to my Manifesting with Megs, these conversations with extraordinary people, we do guide the conversation based upon my book, The Magical Guide to Bliss. And before we do begin, Berta, I always ask my guests to set their intention, because I think when you focus your intention on the conversation as to how you want it to unfold and then put it out in the universe, then something magical can always happen. On top of that, I ask, with that intention, choose a number in my book between number 3 to 397, hold it in your heart space. And at the end of the interview, we're going to come back to that. And then we're going to ask what your intention was as well. So without further ado, transforming dreams into reality with the Magical Guide to Bliss. I am so happy that I had the profound luck, maybe not luck, maybe synchronicity to meet Berta on my journey, through one of her family members, Dr. Cecilia Shaw. She is a rare breed of a speaker and coach by infusing classic coaching with a healthy dose of discovery. And honestly, for all of you out there ready to discover what it is that you're here to do in this world, she is a great place to start. All the adventure that she brings to the table with her specialized trademark of comfort zone coaching. And we're going to get into that a little bit later, because I want you to explain exactly what you mean by that to the audience as well. In addition, she's revolutionized the path to growth and change for individuals and team members of great organizations at the forefront of making a positive impact on the world. So that's always a wonderful thing when you deal with corporations and change the way they actually see the whole world. I think that's fantastic. To continue on her incredible biography, or her bio, after years of building, operating and growing her own successful business, she'd taken her experience, a love for philanthropy, to travel to Africa on a harrowing climb to Mount Kilimanjaro's peak as part of a mission trip to change the world for Maasai children. And I really want you to speak to that as well. In fact, I met you when you were doing your launch of your book on the same topic or at least it was at Cecilia's location when she was working in Kendall. And I definitely want to get into that. Today actually marks the 2nd year anniversary of when I took my big pilgrimage, my big adventure on El Camino, which, certainly is not walking up a mountain, but certainly walking. But I'd love to have you share with everyone that incredible adventure that you took. The mission trip was everything she dreamed about and more, and it transformed her perspective and offered equal doses of service, adventure, and fulfillment. And now what Berta offers is that perspective shift in the way people view themselves, in the focus they place on how they are living to ensure they are living in alignment with true enthusiasm. And we spoke to enthusiasm last time that we spoke last week. So once again, living the divine in fulfillment in your life. And I can't wait to talk about that, because I think that, when people actually expand their horizons and venture out, you inspire so many people to follow and do the same. Berta has developed itineraries that interact with every level of the personal professional environment. She's a professional certified coach, like I indicated before, with the International Coaching Federation, a certified go-giver speaker, author and creator of Universal Success Program, and founder-director of Dreamers Succeed series of keynotes, workshops, seminars, and retreats. Welcome, Berta. And I'm going to give this right now. I think it's really important that you guys, if you want to see some of the pictures or take a look at her bio and everything more, go to www.bertamedina.com to get more. But we have this time with you tonight. So I want you, there you go. What a resume. Give us a little bit more in your own words as to your journey so far, Berta.
Yay. I'm so happy to be here, Meg. Thank you so much for honoring me with this conversation and with sharing my story with you this evening. You know, I'm a big fan, and I just love everything that you're doing, and just happy to be here, lady.
No, I'm happy to have you. Believe me, I think that we all can do a little dreaming about adventures outside the four, I suppose, corners of our homes as we quarantine away. Take us on a flight of fancy. Start with your trip to Mount Kilimanjaro. Please share with us a little bit about the inspiration behind that and what brought you there in the first place. I know that you speak to the Maasai children, but please give us some more information about that.
Absolutely. I love that. And thank you for the invitation to do that, Meg. Africa's been on my list, on my in my bucket since I was a child. Kenya, for whatever reason, was where I wanted to go, and it was just something that I'd been dreaming about forever. And I created a vision board in 2007 after watching The Secret, and everything on that vision board was Africa related. There were Maasai villages and a giant word across the top that said volunteerism and safaris and just service. Kili was on there with a picture of someone at the summit, and it was just all these things that I had on my bucket for a long time. And it's funny because and I know that you're a big believer in manifestation and dreaming and having that vision. I placed that vision board in front of my toilet of all places, and it just sat there for 7 years. And one day, and that's why I love speaking into the heart of generosity, because when we're in that mode of being of service and adding value and just working from a place of generosity, things seem to come together. It's not that I wasn't working my butt off. It's not that I was just sitting there waiting for things to happen. But lo and behold, that year, 2014, came in, year of the horse, and it's not my spirit animal, even though it's the animal that I most relate to. And I was working, growing my business, and I'd been in business for myself for a number of years. I was working on my pilot's license. I was already enrolled in getting my certification as a coach. And my daughter sees this Instagram post about this trip that an organization called One Child Matters was putting together to raise funds for Maasai children. And she's just scrolling. She actually lived in Colorado Springs at the time, was here visiting. It was sometime in January. And she said, "Mom, this is weird, but this is like everything that you've ever dreamt
So she
of."
knew.
You know,
She knew about this whole vision.
She did not. Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, she knew about the vision. We all created our vision boards together, and she's scrolling through it. So I click on the link, and before you know it, I was registered. And then I get a note saying, you're on a waiting list. And I had already told my husband, "Listen, I'm not going to be here in September. I'm going to be in Africa, and I'm going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, and you can't come because you have gout, and I need $1,500 because that's the deposit." So he's looking at me like, "What just happened? Are you crazy right now?" And he just couldn't figure it out. But a couple of weeks later, I get the call. It's saying that a spot had opened, and that I had the ability to travel. So that required that we sponsor a child. They were 5 years old at the time. They were Maasai children who were living in poverty, and generationally, it was just a cycle of poverty.
Can I ask you,
And in
what
Kenya,
are the Maasai? Can you explain a little?
the Maasai is a tribe.
Okay.
We've all seen pictures of the Maasai. They wear very, very bright red colors, and they walk around with their herds, and they're just beautiful people. They live in the bush, and they're just amazing giving human beings. But it's very tribal, and the Maasai tribes are in Kenya. They're in different parts of Eastern Africa, but it's a very prominent and well-known tribe. So my child Sipao was 5 years old at the time, and when I got his packet, our job on this fundraising mission, and we got the word in January, our trip was in September, was that we had to raise $5,859, and that would take these 5-year-old children through everything that they needed, medical, nutrition, and educational, until they graduated high school. And that was the best chance for them to climb out of poverty.
Wow.
And what was interesting was that in Kenya, schools are public, but they're not free. So these tribe people living in such poverty cannot afford to send their children to school. So that cycle just continues. And it was just one of those things. It was very daunting to me. I didn't know how I was going to be able to raise, we had to pay $6,000 for our trip, plus raise an additional almost $6,000. And it was just very daunting to me. I said, you know what, I'm just going to have to pay it myself. There's no way I can raise this money. And when I received Sipao's picture with his bio and everything, in 2 months, the funds were raised, because I got so excited about what that would represent for him.
Wow.
So, 9 months later, we were in Africa. I met Sipao. I've been back a couple of times to see him. He's 11 now. He's thriving and doing really well.
So you were able to have a relationship with him before
Yes,
and after.
absolutely.
Wow, that's
absolutely.
amazing.
Before and after. Actually, the day before we headed for the mountain, we got to meet our children.
Oh, wow.
And I was very blessed because he was there, his mom and dad were there, and his grandmother.
Wow.
So it was rare, but I got to meet the entire family.
Amazing.
And just, they've been, it's so funny because my granddaughter, we have 23 sponsored children, but we have all their pictures on our fridge, and my granddaughter says these are all my cousins, and they're just children from all over the world.
That's amazing.
And everything, Meg, when I came back from that trip, I actually did an experience board with the pictures almost, in the same position as they were on my vision board, almost to a T.
Wow. So the actual pictures that you took mirrored what you actually visualized that you would do.
Crazy.
Amazing. Talk about manifesting something wonderful in your life.
It was just crazy.
Let me ask you, before that you actually went to Mount Kilimanjaro, were you were transitioning to become a coach, correct?
Right. Correct.
But what kind of business did you have at the outset? Like, what was it that you were doing then?
I was at title insurance, and I've been in real estate title insurance for 28 years. Till then, I started when I was 10. It was really cool because I got to start really young. I'm just kidding. But I've been doing that. And you know what? I thought I'd be doing that my entire life because I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I loved every aspect of it. I loved being at the table when people's dreams were coming true of home ownership. And it was detective work. So it was never enough to get bored with. And I liked coaching. I didn't know coaching was a real thing you could do as a profession, right? And I learned that was a real thing. People had always called me a coach and would say, "Hey, Yoda, I need you. Can we go have lunch or can we go have coffee?" But I didn't know it was a real career. And the moment I found out about it, 2 weeks later, I was enrolled in UM, and I said, I have to look into this.
And this was in 2014 then, correct?
2014, yeah.
Okay, so 6 years ago now. Wow.
So
that was a big year for you. That was a big year for you. Like a lot of transformation. Yeah.
A big year. It was a big year. And I say menopause is magical. It was my first year into menopause. I was a 47-year-old postmenopausal grandma who had never climbed a mountain in her life.
There's no way you're a grandma. That's the craziest thing.
Yeah. The only mountain I had ever climbed was that one in Tropical Park.
Yeah, it's a great mountain.
That's it. Yeah, it's a great mountain. It's about 30 feet of elevation.
Well, today, the cool thing about today, and I love that the fact that I'm talking today, because in the Magical Guide to Bliss, today's quote is by Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung, and it goes as follows: "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." So the whole idea behind that is be true to yourself. And it sounds to me that when you sat down to make that vision board way long ago, before, like you must have been, in the 2000
7 years. It was 7 years before.
Wow. 7 years at the time you actually, went off on this journey in 2014. When you sat down to do that, what was the calling that you were experiencing to become more of the person that you truly are? Outside of this dream job that you had, you sounded like you enjoyed it, but there was something more pulling at you.
I think, you know what? We had just watched The Secret, and Ceci purchased the movie, had all the cousins come over to my house. We had a big barbecue, and we all watched the movie. And it sort of woke something up in me that was already there, that was sort of pulling and tugging, because even with the business, I knew that I wanted to be in business with myself. My son had just started college, and I figured, okay, I have this little bit of freedom now where I can go on my own. and it was just something that element of, and I've always been very active in our community and volunteering, and my kids grew up volunteering all of their lives. But it was something, it was almost like God was saying, listen, there's
There's
more.
more.
and
But you
and I
call yourself an adventure coach. And
um, yeah,
I'm looking above your head and I see a zebra
yes, yes,
on the in the plains of Africa, I imagine,
right,
correct?
right, right,
And I know you, and I look even behind you as well, and I see this incredible, map of all the countries
right.
in the world as well. If I look to you in what 2009, let's say,
Hmm.
right? Where you're doing this job, you're moving along, life is good, but yet you're like something else. And you saw this movie, it inspired you, and then you're like, okay, sit down. I'm going to start dreaming a little bigger, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Would you ever be able to? Would your then self ever truly believe what your now self is experiencing in life and the person that it's made you become?
Probably not.
No. Why do you
Probably
think
not.
that's the case then?
I think that there's, and here's the thing with me is that I know that if I put a goal to paper, I'll die trying, but I'm gonna make it happen,
Yeah.
right? I'm gonna make it happen. So for me, it was just a matter of daring to go there. I didn't grow up in a home, and I would not trade my childhood for anything, but dreaming was the last thing on your mind. I mean, we were survival mode. Let's get through now, and let's get through the next grade, and so it was not the way that I raised my children. And it was, listen, first generation Americans, born to Cuban immigrant parents, and we, like I said, had a great childhood. We grew up in a house, four cousins, grandparents, an aunt, and my mom. And it was a beautiful, very rich way to grow up. But there was a lot of want, for lack of a better word. And and even though, and it's funny because even as a child growing up, I was born without a father, because obviously I had one, but he left back to Cuba when my mom was pregnant. um, and all the hardship that goes with that, I still remember. And there's a picture which I put in the back of my latest book, of me at 5 years old in a little sailor dress,
Wow.
and my face is just pure optimism.
Oh, wow.
And I was not living a life that was conducive to being optimistic, but for whatever reason, God had instilled that in me.
Wow.
And I didn't realize it at the time, until I look back and I say, how can I be smiling with my entire soul, with everything that was happening for me,
Yeah.
during that time. So yeah, it was not something, except for the determination piece,
Yeah.
it was not something I would have envisioned.
One of the things that I ask in the Inside today is, as a child, do you remember being asked the question, what will you be when you grow up? And as a child, even if you ask children today, what will you be? They'll, if they're like dreamers, they'll grab for the stars, right? Then
Right.
if you ask an adult, what is it that you'll be when you grow up? Well, first of all, your children will laugh at you because you're
Yeah.
grown up, you're done, you're going to move on. Those dreams are gone. Move along,
Yeah.
And I think that is actually one of the most powerful questions you can ask someone who now sits in a very different position that you did as a child.
Right.
Because when you give yourself permission to
Mhm.
even think about that question, the game changes on you. So
Yeah.
now I'm going to ask you, now where you're sitting with all these proofs or evidences that you have been able to see some visuals come to fruition, what would you want to be when you grow up?
I love it. And that's a great question. And Meg, I'm that weird lady at Starbucks that will start a conversation with someone. And my first question is going to be, what's your dream? I don't care if you're 8 years old or
That's
80
why I
years
love
old.
you.
And they first, they look at me with like deer in the headlights. But then I realize that very often these people have never, maybe ever, been asked that question in their lives.
Well,
So
let me
now,
ask you this. Do you ask
yeah.
complete strangers or do you know these people?
No, I ask complete strangers all the
There
time,
you
but
go.
I'm that lady who will. I mean, if I have a good conversation with somebody, I'll say, "Listen, please don't go. I've got a great book in the car that I know
Yes.
would be a blessing to you." And I
Yeah.
go and I grab the book, and they're like, "What is this?" I don't put a business card. I don't need you to. I don't
Yeah.
need to hear from you. I just, based on our conversation, I
Yeah.
feel that this is going to help you. So
Amazing.
for me now, I'll just go through my vision board, because it's, you know, after that first vision board, I every vision board that I've put up, I've been able to bring to life in almost no time. And I know it has nothing to do with me. It's God and the universe are
Mhm.
aligning on my behalf, just like they're aligning on everyone else's behalf. We just have to let it work.
Yeah.
So I had a big vision board party here in not this December, last December. And we had about 50 people, and there were just people playing with crayons and glue sticks all over the floor. I had tables set up outside. It was just a big party. And when I always invite everyone to come up and talk about their vision board and why they put certain things. So of course, to set the example, I go up and I do mine first. And my husband's like, "Oh crap. Seriously?" And people are like saying why, and he goes, "Because every time she puts something on there, it happens. It just ends up costing me a lot of money." So dreamer, yes. And I think the older I get, and I'm 52 now, I was telling my daughter yesterday, I can't wait for 60, because 50 was so much better than my 40s, and my 40s were so much. But I have things like, I want to, open a school for children in Kenya. I want to sponsor 100 children. I want to build, 10 playgrounds at the centers where we go. I want to have uh, a Starbucks in downtown Miami, where there are shower stalls in the back, so that people who are houseless right now can go and have a shower and take care of themselves, and get themselves groomed, which is such a part of dignity, and then come in and enjoy a free cup of coffee, which is going to be operated by the homeless veterans, that I can't even believe that that's a thing in this country.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's all going to circulate and work the way it is. And then I have pictures of two homeless shelters, one here in Miami and one in Tennessee, because it's an issue there too. And things like living on a cruise ship when I retire. That's the selfish one. But they're those are my, and listen, I know that it's possible, because
Yeah.
that first vision board, which seemed impossible,
Yeah.
proved to me, like when Roger Bannister broke the first 4-minute mile, now you remove the impossibility factor, and it's totally doable.
Well, let me ask you something, because I think it's really important, because you are a believer
Mhm.
in the possible
Mhm.
out of the I'm possible out of the impossible, right?
Right, right.
Because you're a believer. If anyone is on here and they're questioning, oh, whatever, that's for you, not for me. That's not going to happen for me. That's for, other people, right?
Mhm.
How do you start to assist or perhaps guide other people to shift so that they even begin to ask the questions of, what is it that I want for my life? What kind of adventures do I seek? What is it that
Mhm.
I want to pull into my world, and then tune out the naysayers, or tune out just
Mhm.
in my own play, in my own playpen, or in my own, playground, or whatever. If I'm there, how do you encourage those who are a little wary of getting their hopes up
Mhm.
to jump right in?
Yeah, I'll tell you what really works for me, Meg, and I started doing this at workshops. Here in South Florida, where there are so many Latins, I used to say, let's write your eulogy. But
Oh.
Latins, you can't talk about death, because then they think if they don't talk about it, it's never going to come, right? So I changed it to inviting people, and there are people that have a really hard time dreaming. It's almost like they don't allow themselves to go there for whatever reason, but there's a way to crack that egg. So I
Mhm.
began at my workshops, and it's even in the workbook that I created around the why is the way. It's let's write your centenarian speech. What
Ah,
speech? What are they going to say about you at your 100th birthday celebration? And that's very different than a eulogy, right? So you're going to turn 100, and there's going to be this great celebration. We're going to remove modesty and humility from the
yeah.
equation, and I want you to write your centenarian speech. And let me
Wow.
tell you, Meg, sometimes people are hesitant, and I say we have 5 minutes, and I turn on the timer, and about that fourth minute, the people that are really, really closed off, they'll start writing, and I don't really only give them 5 minutes, but
Yeah.
when they're in a flow, and those are the
Yeah.
first people to raise their hands and read it in front of a crowd of strangers and cry like
Wow.
they've probably never cried, because they have
I'm
not
getting,
dared, they
I'm
have
getting
not
this.
they have not dared to go there. And if you know what you want it to look like at the end,
Hmm.
you know what you have to do now. So the whole
That
point
is,
of that
I
is to
love that.
reverse, and yeah, yeah,
Know what you want it to look like at the end, then you know what to do now.
right,
That's very
right.
empowering. And that's
Hmm.
really why you started the Dreamers Succeed
Hmm.
programs, the
Right.
workshops, et cetera, because when you encourage others to, it's really start writing about your hopes and your
Hmm.
aspirations and the possibilities, then it's a game changer for one life.
Yeah.
Where had you not sat down with your vision board years ago and set it out that you have Kenya and with your daughter, and then she would never have seen that. So it's kind of a
Mhm.
hand in hand and hand in hand, where the synchronicity, the unfolding of really comes to fruition when you
Right.
start with the dreamer part of the
Right.
whole equation. So
Mhm.
basically, tell us a little bit about your Dreamer Succeed series, and what would we get from it if we were involved with it, and what do you envision for this as to how it unfolds now and in the future?
Yeah, well, the dreamer, and thanks for asking that, Meg. The dreamers succeed. Really, I started doing a lot of workshops just to get my name out there. Before, I started doing a lot more speaking, which is what I'm doing mostly now. Was just around the coaching, because obviously there's the one-on-one coaching element, but there
Mhm.
was so much power in the gathering. I mastermind, and we get together and we do group workshops, and there's a lot of power in that, the synergy that is created in a crowd, especially when you are allowing yourself to dream. Nobody leaves there as strangers. So what I usually do when we do these workshops, just part the of what we do, is to create a mastermind around that workshop. And I was just speaking to one of my an accountability partner that I had. We did a workshop 3 years ago in April, and we've been speaking every Monday at 5 p.m. and going over our metrics for 3 years. I talked to him today, and I
So
said, this is
explain a little bit about what a mastermind is to those people who might not understand truly what that is.
sure. Okay, so a mastermind is really nothing more than a gathering of like-minded people who really want to be able to create a support group around your vision. There's a
Mhm.
lot of accountability. There is support. Again, there are ideas are generated, and it's very protected in the sense that there is, again, that support, that privacy, that anonymity, not anonymity like you don't know who you are, but that sort of protection of what we talk about here is going to be is holy. It's going to be supported.
Mhm.
We're going to use it to support each other. We're not going to criticize each other, and we're not going to belittle each other. What we're going to do is try to be a stand for each other. And I love the relationships that are created, and the friendships, and really even um, the business ideas that come together when you create a mastermind with like-minded people.
So these are people that have been aligned to you, or that you met at that particular workshop, or how did this unfold as time goes on?
And it depends, because we have masterminds that are just part of the workshop. Okay, and I always say, the thing with my workshop, it's not like you're going to come to the workshop and you're going to get a binder and you're going to go home and stick it in your drawer with every other binder. I always say, the minute that we leave, that's where the workshop begins, because I don't let people off the hook, like, okay, now we learned all this information and now you're gone. So my commitment to the sustainability of what they've learned
Mhm.
is to create a mastermind so that we can continue to support each other. And sometimes it's a 6 week mastermind, sometimes it's a 3 month mastermind. And but since I always have a mastermind, a high achiever mastermind going on, we invite people into that group. if they want to follow through and continue. But again, I think the beauty and the sustainability comes from the work that happens when you leave, not what happens within the workshop.
I love these conversations with extraordinary people because I get to share your extraordinariness, your amazingness with other people where they might not be able to see it because of different life paths, different journeys. So one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you in tonight, especially on this be true to yourself notion, is I think that one of the things that is most beautiful about you is your authenticity, and certainly the vulnerability that you do in fact share with your journey as to the unfolding. And we all have challenges. And I think that even before we got on tonight, it's like, how are you doing? This is not easy for everyone. I know that these moments, when is this going to be done? When is this going to be over? I don't know. Some people are having a hard time dealing with their family. Some people have a hard time dealing with themselves. When the great pause happens, you're looking at yourself and you're like evaluating where it is, where you're going, whatever. How can we all, benefit from your guidance at this point to, shift us all into a position or a path that we can most benefit from in this pause? And I speak to the whole be true to yourself, authenticity, the match with what will you be when you grow up, and then following through with the dreams. Because I put in the feed, let's start now, everybody, put your dreams in the feed. How can you speak to that?
Well, I think, Meg, what I've noticed, and I know you're on the optimistic spectrum like I am, and what I've noticed with something as big as what is happening, and it's unprecedented, probably in the history of the world, at least, to history that we can remember,
Right.
is that there are two very clear groups here. The people that are living sort of in fear, and it's not that it's not warranted. I understand that, and the people that are looking at the opportunity to serve, the opportunity to really take this time. I've been more productive in the last month, and I'm a high productive. I mean, I'm an accountability coach, so I am a 5 a.m. I start my day, and I'm highly productive, or I like to think I am. But what I've noticed, Meg, is that the people that have dedicated themselves to use this time to be in service of others are looking at it very, very optimistically.
Mm.
They are taking control of what they can do, and they're putting themselves in the service of others. We've seen it, and I'm sure you've seen it too. People
Yeah.
are bringing their expertise to put together webinars and learning experiences for others that they can use to create a catalyst for what comes next. People
Yeah.
are sewing, my daughter did it. She sewed almost 300 masks and started mailing them out to whoever needed them,
Yeah.
because there's a need. So I think those people are doing well, and I think for a lot of people, this pause is an invitation to look at things that we maybe, what were we taking for granted before? What can we do different? What should we be doing different? What should we be doing more of? What should we be doing less of? And if we're paying attention and staying out of our pantries, which I'm having a hard time with, and really do a little bit of self reflection, I think a lot of really beautiful good can come out of this.
I saw something on Instagram today. I think it was a post by Elizabeth Gilbert, and she goes, "I'm an apocalyptimist." It's very funny. I see the world. I see all shit hitting the fan, and I
Yeah.
still think something's going to happen that's going to be better than we were in the beginning. So
I
it's the apocalyptimist tonight that
I
we get
love
to
it.
be.
I love it.
I thought that was very clever and very funny, and I
Very
think she was
funny.
actually quoting somebody else, but I think in many respects you're right. I think a lot of people who are in fact optimists and who are sort of may get frustrated as well, because it's kind of like, wow, people are really suffering. They're losing people too, and things are really. It's not feel good when you're looking at TV, but then when you see the firefighters having a parade and honoring one of their own, and just such a committed loyalty to their people, like then you feel the sense of this community that they've built and that we all are watching, and we get a little view into at this point,
Right.
to say that we are of one collective body and mind. Literally, how we treat each other and how we respect each other is truly important. And I think that's where the service element comes in with your daughter making the masks and trying to be that positive, optimistic force in the great challenge. And I think that, in many ways, these people who are at the front lines are the adventurers right now. They're going out there with the skills they've learned to serve the community.
Right.
I think one of the really amazing things that you can do at this point in time, and I really want to turn to this point as well, is to start looking at your life and prioritizing those things that are important to you, as like you were saying, against the things that don't really matter, all the drama that, just stresses you out, and then shifting to the things that really matter. So now it's time to manifest, which I love. And so really the question is, what is the most important to you now in light of everything that is unfolding around you?
As what we're going through right now?
Well, in general, I don't know whether or not, certainly you have a vision, you have a focus, you have, a path that you're following. I don't know if this has impacted that or not, but, maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. But what at this point in your life have you intended to make a priority as what is important for you?
I think this is going to sound, being self-full is important. And I think what happens is that especially for women, we tend to neglect ourselves. Nothing wrong with sacrificing and putting your family first, but I think the healthier and the better off we are, we can be a better stand for our families. I learned that later in life, and I love the path that I'm setting for my daughter and my granddaughter by being that stand, even for my son and my husband.
Well, tell me something. Can you define the self-full component and how it applies to your life?
The self-full component to me means that I don't have to sacrifice my happiness to make everyone else happy. And I think a lot of times there's a tendency to see it as an either or, and there's not. You just have to be, you have to learn how to marry the two so that you are happy and everyone else is happy.
Well, I think, certainly living in close quarters, I know that you're a family of what you have your daughter and her family there, as well as your husband. So, when everyone has competing happiness interests in the home, certainly an element of compromise comes to fruition. But when I think what you're saying is that when you are happy, other people will be happy to be around you as well, right? I mean, it just is a follow through. You like yourself, you're not as mean to other people.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I think, Meg, that it's being true to and standing up for what you're dreaming about, in spite of what it looks like. I got a lot of crap with the Africa trip. My mother and my mother-in-law both lived with us, and unfortunately they both passed last year. So we had, you talk about a house full. This was a house full. Yeah. My granddaughter, for many different parts of her life, has been raised in a 4-generation home. And so there are a lot of eyes all the time. And then you have this Cuban woman who, did she just go crazy? And now she wants to go climb a mountain, and now she comes back and she wants to retire from her business. And there are so many eyes on you that you sort of begin to, it's easy to accept that, listen, I'm not going to shine here because this is going to, make some waves. And I'm not going to go there because this might not, I don't know how this will be received. Yeah. And that's why I say the power of menopause, that you're like, fuck it, I don't give a shit. Excuse my French. But it's like, what? Seriously? And then you're bringing everyone with you into that elevated state that you're in, because you almost want it more for them eventually, because now it's possible.
So it sounds to me like you're saying that with menopause, you became more true to yourself.
I say, women, don't fret. Don't worry about menopause. Menopause is magical.
Menopause is magical. I love that. And for all of those surrounding you at the same time, I'm sure they're just going to have to get used to you
Yep.
as you, right?
Yes.
One of the things that I think when you become selfful is that you get to you said as a child, there was all of these things. You had wants, right? You had wants, you had optimistic, views of your future, but maybe as a kid you just weren't there yet. You couldn't figure out how to get there, but you lived there. You
Mhm.
lived there until you could actually empower yourself to get there.
Right.
So what is it that you value at this stage in your life, knowing what has come before and what you look toward as well?
You know what? I really value family. I come from a big crazy ass Cuban family, and the more I the more I realize what's important, the more I realize how blessed I am to be surrounded by so much crazy. And I may be the worst of them, but I really, and I don't feel like I've ever taken that for granted. But with every passing year, I realize, Matt, and with my mom, with her illness this last year, I just realized I'm an only child. I was not alone through any of it, and
No.
it helped that my mom had been making deposits into the hearts of people all of her life selflessly,
Wow.
and
Ah,
it just
I love
all,
that. Making deposits
yeah,
into the hearts of people. That's
never
beautiful.
expecting to make a withdrawal and never expecting anything in return. But man, everyone showed up for her big time, and in showing up for her, I felt really supported. My
Wow.
kids felt really supported. And my mom was just surrounded by love until her last breath, which I could not have asked for more than that as a daughter, So I value family more now than than I ever have.
I'm gonna spin off of what you just said about making deposits into the hearts of people. I think that when you live your life true to yourself and engaging in the world by bringing your gifts, your talents, your skill, everything with as many people as you can, that's the legacy component that we all seek to align with.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, how has that profoundly impacted you as you turn and shift your focus to your clients, to the people you engage with, to everyone who comes into contact with you, if you're speaking, your business in Africa, all
Mhm.
of this stuff?
I see so much potential in people, Meg, just by default, that
Mm,
all I want to do is help them see it themselves. And I know that, and I read this great quote by Michelangelo, which I know we've all heard before. He says, I saw the angel in the marble, and I carved until I set him free.
that's
And I
beautiful. Yeah.
think that all of us have so much potential to do great things and to be of service and to be a source of great love, that all we need is to for someone sometimes to breathe those words of hope into us. And it
Mm.
can be a stranger walking past you um, on the street that just might have that one little thing, and it was the one little thing that you needed to hear, and it just shifts everything.
Or it
And
could be you in Starbucks.
exactly,
There you go.
yeah,
Licensed to be as engaging and empowering and inspiring. Berta just told you.
yeah,
If you're in a Starbucks and go out of this, or maybe through the drive-through window,
yeah,
you have that moment in time to engage someone else in their possible potential. What
yeah,
a beautiful gift to give another human spirit and
mm,
soul. That's amazing.
yeah,
And furthermore, as a manifester, which you are, and clearly your life is unfolding of the same. What are some of the tools or practices that you can give to the people who are listening today to, help them move themselves forward that really have worked for you, and that'll be game changers.
Mhm. I think the vision boarding. I don't have to say it anymore, but I think that's a big one. People, keep your vision in front of you. Keep the dream, and listen. Let's not set the expectations here mediocre and just so that we're safe and comfortable and hit them every time. Let's set them high so that if we miss, we're still way over exceeding where we could have been. I think another thing is, and you touched a little bit on the comfort zone, and I looked it up one day, and Webster defines a comfort zone as a place of sort of status quo. Okay, and that to me is the lamest definition, um, because I believe that a comfort zone is a graveyard of potential and hope, and it's where all dreams go to die.
Say that again. Love that. Say
Yeah,
it again.
that a comfort zone is a graveyard of potential and hope. It is
Mm.
where all dreams go to die. And I think that no life worth living can be lived within the confines of a comfort zone. And we have to be willing to stretch beyond our comfort zones.
So give us one tool to help us stretch, because I think that what you said there is so depressing. I don't think anybody wants to live in a place where our dreams go to die, literally.
Yeah, I think one of the best things that we can do is how Eleanor Roosevelt said, do one thing every day that scares you. I think stretch yourself as much as you can every day and at every opportunity. If we can really dig in and look for what is holding us back, those limiting beliefs that just don't serve us, um, look, sit with them and look at them and bring them out into the open, because if you don't do it, you can't do anything about them, and they are going to be messing with you forever until kingdom come. And we have to be brave enough to, like I said, to face them and to be able to do something with them. And fear, which is a big one, people, we're only born with two fears. That's the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. Everything else, thank your teachers, your parents, the people you surround yourself with, because that's where they're coming from, and they really they don't exist. And I'm not talking about danger, I'm talking about fear.
Okay.
And that will also mess with us all day. And the other thing, Meg, and I just touched on it a little bit, is be very, very picky about who you are spending your time with.
That's important. What happens
Very,
if you're quarantined with a set of people that you didn't really, well, you kind of
yeah,
chose them, but you were like, ah.
yeah, yeah. And in this situation, there are going to be people, and guys, use this time to look at that. Who are the people that you miss right now? Because
Ah,
the people that you miss right now are those people that are generally making you feel good. They're usually elevating you. They're usually pushing you
beautiful.
for more.
You
And
know,
and
I love that you just said that. Think about the people that you miss and ask yourself basically what you said is why? Why did you miss them? Did they bring you joy? Did they bring you like hope and potential? Did they bring you sunshine in your life? Did they bring you some sort of inspiration? Did they bring you pride? All of these things. I think that that's one of the most wonderful thing that we can do is what you just said is make a list of the people that you miss and maybe take a moment to write a short text or note to them.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think that that is super amazing. I think I did it the other day. I wrote little love notes to people that I
yes,
really do cherish and value their
mhm,
friendships, and I
mhm,
have to finish it because
yeah,
I'm very blessed with a lot of people that I love and
mhm,
cherish. And but I think that's amazing what you pointed out, because I think that people don't realize that when they're sitting there in isolation or whatever by yourself, those are the things when you look back over your life and the movie unfolds, like you said, as a centurion. What is
yeah,
it that you want to see? Which is foundly profound, like beautiful, beautiful. I love that one. Thank you for that. That was
yeah.
really very profound for me. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I had to say that because I was like, ding, ding, ding. I love it. I'm taking that one. Yeah, it's going to be my list.
That was it. But I love what you just said, Meg, about writing the notes. Let's be intentional about letting people know that they're important. And if you can write a handwritten note and mail it, man, that's going to go a long way, especially now when there's just not, probably have a lot of food delivery coming to your house, but not a lot of love notes coming in your mailbox right now.
Oh my God.
So to be intentional, that's a great idea, Meg.
Yeah,
That's
that's a
what I'm
great, and that is once writing a letter and, using, they say that the best way, and I think as an author,
Mm,
you'll perhaps agree with me here,
mhm,
is that when you write out it's like a channel of the words, but
mm,
and your hand. So I think that, if you have good handwriting, especially, I'm pretty bad with my handwriting, but maybe go slow and write an intentional note to someone. It really
mhm.
can change you, and it will most definitely will change
Absolutely.
another person. So I really love that very much. So let's go back to the beginning of our interview. I can't believe it's already almost to the end here. We could talk for hours, which is, really, I think that one of the most amazing thing is when you get lost in conversation, and
Mhm,
perhaps, maybe make some time in the evening with those that you live with, and make it intentional time too. I think that what Berta says is also applicable to the people that are surrounding. Take that time to build those relationships in a
mhm,
positive way. Maybe dream with them and
mhm.
bring them into your dreams, like Berta did with her daughter, so that if they see something out there in the world that aligns with that, they'll bring it to your attention. Because I think it's so much better when we collaborate and we don't work on our
Yes.
own. I think it's definitely more empowering for us as well as other people to share those dreams. So with that, I wanted to go back to the beginning. So what was your intention for tonight's conversation, Berta?
My intention was to have fun and to serve.
Beautiful. And what number did you pick that would match that intention?
13.
13. So do you have my book with you, or I
I
probably should have told you that.
Yeah, I should have grabbed it. I have it upstairs.
Well, I'll read it for you. I should have said to you. Unfortunately, I my head. But I'll go ahead and read to you what your intention matches tonight in the Magical Guide to Bliss. So
Yeah,
page
there are 2,
13.
and I don't wanna interrupt, but there are 2 books that I keep, on my nightstand because they're always go through books. It's your book and another book, about African folklore because I had the trip coming up
Oh
to Kenya
wow.
called Indaba My Children. But those are reference books, open it up, some message is gonna come through, and that's what I love about your book, Meg, that there's always gonna be something that I need to hear if I just crack it open to whatever page. So
That you honor me, to be quite honest with you. That's amazing. It's funny because when we actually set out to do these things that, push our souls, we don't know where it is going to go. I definitely want, before I read this, I want you to share with the audience also the names of your books, because I think that first and foremost, the Mount Kilimanjaro, the story you tell
mm,
is something that for any adventurer out there, just to read about it and think of the possibilities of just one person's vision becoming reality is in and of itself a life changer, a shift that could possibly happen. And I know you came out with a second one with regard to your speaking series and your
mhm,
workshop book. So
mhm.
can you just go ahead and tell me what they are, and I'll go ahead and put them in the feed as well.
So the story of the Kili trip is called Lessons from the Roof of Africa. And
Okay.
then my children and my children, they were like in their 20s and 30s already. We wrote a children's book from the perspective as if my granddaughter Chloe had been doing
Oh,
the climb for Sipao, my sponsor child. So
wow.
that was called Chloe Climbs for Sippy, and I that's where I speak in schools about the power of giving and how much more we get
Wow.
when we receive when we give. And the latest one is The Why is the Way,
The
and
what?
that really, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, because I love, like, and you always say the big ask too, the big
Yeah.
ask. So I'm asking you to
Yeah.
share the why is the way.
The why is the way is really all about that. If you're ever wondering how to get to the center of focusing, and I talked a little bit about vision boards, is just focus on your why. It's not so much what you want to do, but take it a step further and really hone in on why you want to do it. And that's going to be what's going to propel you to put up with the naysayers and those days when you're tired, and that's going to create the stick to itiveness that you need to bring that dream to fruition if you're
So
focused
if
on
I want to put you on the spot for a
it.
second, I would love for you to tell me what next big dream you are about to manifest in your life.
Okay, so I had, and this is still going to happen, but we just had to postpone our Kenya trip.
Yes.
I was going to go back with leading a group of women, co-leading with Dee, who's the founder of the Women's Circle of Caring. a group of women, and we were going to go back to Kenya, work with the Maasai women and children, and just be a blessing to them for a couple of weeks. And again, because of everything that was going to be in June, because of everything that's going on, we had to postpone that trip. I was going to go with two dear friends who I've been dreaming about mission tripping with for a long time, and it will happen. So we're looking at new dates once we get on the other side of this, and we can coordinate that. But that will happen. And my plan is to stay beyond the trip long enough to visit all my children in Kenya and my children in Ethiopia, since I'm going to be there.
Wow.
And my big goal is to get to all the countries where we have children sponsored, and do all of that before the end of next year.
So what is your why around that?
My why around that is that the more people we can help to live life to their full potential, and to focus on their dreams and to live happier lives, the better the world is going to be because of it. And my kids are grown, but Chloe, who you met, is 8 years old. She's a little adventurous, little sassy pants, beautiful, my granddaughter. And if I can make one little contribution to leave that kind of world behind for her, that's my work here will have been done.
Wow. And I think that actually is a beautiful shift in the perspective of leaving the world more beautiful for those who follow. And I think that what you just said for your why is just incredible and very inspirational. So thank you so much for sharing that. So on page 11, we have be bold. So this is your synchronistic insight with be bold. And the quote is from Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, the German writer and statesman. Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Perfect for the dreamers of this world.
Yes.
You live in a world of connections. Whether you like it or not, your life is intertwined with that of others. And thank goodness, because you need other people to help you move forward in life and realize your dreams. Technology has allowed you to reach out for miles and miles. You can meet people all over the world with a click of a button. Information and resources lie at your fingertip to help you tap into your source. The following question remains: are you bold enough to commit to your dreams, to start the process by doing the work necessary, and to engage in the important conversations to begin? When the spark of genius awakes you from a dormant life, you are inspired and start to act. When you release your ideas into the universe, there's no telling where your own brand of innovation will take you. When you allow the magical possibility to take hold in your life, the path opens up and you can see the way. You may be able to almost see the fruits of your labor. Who would give up now? Courage is what you need to succeed. Boldness is an attitude that will aid you as you take the risk necessary to be magical. All it takes is a commitment to a new reality. Then get ready to see how the universe will provide the connections to make your dreams come true. Set out to make one new connection today. So I think that today you definitely have made a lot of new connections with regard to everyone who's tuning in. Being more true to yourself as you evolve on this journey and identify your why is so exciting. And I can't wait to see all of the things that unfold in your life in this moment and moments that are to come. One of the things I wanted to ensure that, once again, everyone, go to www.bertamedina.com for more information on all of her wonderful offerings, as well as a place to find where her books are. And if you have any interest whatsoever in Mount Kilimanjaro and the climb, I encourage you to reach out to her as well, because when people share their adventures and they show the possibility around those, it makes it even more possibility for yourself, regardless of whether it's going to Africa, going, to the pharmacy, maybe, I don't know. But the bottom line is that we're here to encourage each other to live more fully the life that we are authentically intended to live. So with that, I do want to tell you that, Berta is a life coach as well, empowerment coach. I'm an adventure coach. She is available to help you manifest your dreams, as am I. I love working with her. She's fantastic. She brings a level of energy to the party that makes you feel like you're at a Cuban party for sure. And that's the family element. The Italians and the Cubans have that in common. So I definitely align with that. And certainly the optimism that you bring to the table. I do want to give the final inspirational word to you tonight. I want to thank you very much once again for giving us this time, this incredible opportunity to talk to you, to be in conversation, to get excited and be bold about our lives. Even though we're sitting in quarantine, we'll use this time perhaps more fully in engaging in those things that you've indicated, the vision boards, the getting intentional about the people that you miss and reaching out to them, and maybe setting your dreams with those you love as well. So it's all yours, Berta. What is our final word of inspiration tonight?
Go out and do good. Go out and do good. It's a great opportunity right now, especially to be of service and to bring hope and light to people. And listen, we can't take it with us. All we can do is leave it better than it was when we got here.
There you go. Leave it better than it was when we got here. I love that. Thank you, Berta. This is wonderful.
Thank you, Meg.
I so appreciate it. You know, I did say to someone, or I was speaking to someone this last Monday, and they said, when there's something, a shift in your own life, you elevate the collective consciousness of the world. So by doing good in your own little corner of the world, like she says, being of service, you do have a ripple effect beyond your wildest imagination. So go out there and do good, like Berta says. And like I said, seriously, if you're in for an adventure, you got to contact her and get those books, because my God, they'll get you all excited and ready to do something that you never even imagined. Getting out of your comfort zone. Don't letting those dreams die in that graveyard. It's too sad, even a thought. So let's not even think it. And remember, we all are here to be deliberate creatives of our life. And also let our souls be guided by the beautiful dreams and the magic of those dreams. And let us all together raise the positive vibration on this planet so we all can have the opportunity to live out of that place of good into our bliss, so we can see all the magic and miracles unfold and we shine our beautiful lights together. So thank you so much, Berta. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.